Ubisoft has been under fire over the past week or so now that a lot of news is coming out about how higher-ups at the company act. Apparently, the company is ran like a frat house, and sexism and abuse run rampant inside of their community. These are not my words, these are the words of the article that we are going to read in a moment, but I really wanted to talk about this because I think that this is extremely important to bring attention to, but I also in this video wanted to talk about how an executive at the company apparently said behind the scenes that they did not want only female protagonists in their games like Assassin's Creed because women don't sell. Which is completely untrue. I, off the top of my head, can name probably 10 franchises with female leads that have sold crazy numbers, that have been nominated for things like Game of the Year and have won Game of the Year, and they happen to feature female protagonists. So the first article that we are going to start with is a GameSpot article. Massive Ubisoft report details frat house culture of sexism and abuse. A new report from Bloomberg writer Jason freaking Schreier casts new light on the allegations that have surrounded Ubisoft in recent weeks. Over the past month, Ubisoft has been embroiled in one of the largest scandals in industry history, with more than a dozen ex-employees alleging that the video game publisher is a haven for misogyny and sexual harassment. And now, Bloomberg News has published a lengthy report that reveals new details about the ingrained culture of toxicity at many of Ubisoft's studios, allegedly enabled by executives that prioritize family connections over complaints of misconduct. Oh, who could have guessed a billion-dollar company is doing shady bullshit? Could have never guessed that. One of the most upsetting anecdotes comes early in the piece in the company's Paris headquarters, during a presentation of an important game led by a woman who was out of the room at the time. Chief Creative Officer Sergei Haskowit, I hope I am saying his name right, pulled up a YouTube video of a French song that describes sexually explicit acts with a woman with the same name as the presenter, pausing it when she came back into the room. He has since been removed from his position. A racist anecdote from the publisher's Bulgarian office describes multiple staff members calling the Black Star Wars actor John Boyega a monkey. Of course, we just have to have racism, sexism, all of this disgusting stuff going on at this huge company, which I do want to note that CD Projekt Red actually beat out Ubisoft for being Europe's largest game publisher, so good for CD Projekt Red, good for Cyberpunk 2077, and pretty bad for Ubisoft right now. This culture of sexism seeped into the publisher's games. The report focuses on how it affected the Assassin's Creed games, stating that scripts were changed in development to focus more on male characters, particularly in Syndicate and Origins. According to this piece, Syndicate was supposed to feature the twins Jacob and Evie equally, though Jacob ultimately ended up with more of the screen time. Origins' male hero Bayeket was set to be injured or killed early in the game, and players would assume control of his wife, but that changed over the course of development. So this is disgusting, first of all. If a company is really ran like a frat house and sexism and abuse are running rampant inside of the company really needs to be investigated. This is extremely, extremely disgusting, and this isn't okay at all. I really hope that this situation is looked more into. I know a lot of people in the industry right now are talking about it, and I think that this deserves a lot more attention. But this brings us into our next article that I wanted to read. A new expose into corporate culture at Ubisoft describes producers holding meetings in strip joints and fighting against female representation. More alleged details of sexism and harassment at Ubisoft have emerged, as well as how much certain executives fought against having female leads in games, including Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey. The last article did touch on it, but I feel like this one gives a little bit more detail to the situation. The report by Jason Schreier claims that several senior Ubisoft staff members encouraged a misogynistic culture that kept out women from both creative roles and as leads within the games themselves. Supposedly, a male playable character was only added to Assassin's Creed Odyssey after the chief creative officer, who it's claimed regularly held meetings in strip joints, insisted that women don't sell. I don't know if this executive just doesn't understand what really sells in the gaming industry, but women in games sell extremely well most of the time. I don't think it's just because it's a female in a game, but let's look at all of the games with female leads that have sold well. Off the top of my head, I have Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn, which is getting a sequel soon, Samus in Metroid, we have Bayonetta, The Last of Us 1, and The Last of Us Part 2. I know a lot of us didn't like The Last of Us Part 2, but it is still selling extremely well, but we have Ellie in that. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which is getting a sequel soon. We have the females in Resident Evil games like Jill and Claire. I mean, the list can go on and on. There are games with women that are bound to fail, just like games with men. But a lot of the time, games with female leads sell pretty damn well. And they're also doing this with Valhalla, the same thing that they did with Odyssey. They're making it so you can choose a male or a female character. Haskowit also apparently de-emphasized the role that Evie was set to play in Syndicate and prevented a plot twist that would have seen Bayek's wife become the main character halfway through Assassin's Creed Origins. Although she had more of a minor role than her twin brother, Evie became the first playable female character in a mainline Assassin's Creed game 8 years after the franchise first emerged and at the time at which it was still receiving yearly sequels. That's all that I really had to talk about in this video, though. I think that what was happening inside of the company is not okay. Obviously, I really feel like I don't have to say that. Sexism and abuse are not okay, and Ubisoft will really need to change up how the company is ran internally, but I also just think it's really ridiculous that this executive said that women don't sell in games, because that is very, very far from the truth. A lot of the times, games with women and lead females sell extremely well. But that's all that I really had to talk about in this video. This executive clearly has no fucking clue of what he is talking about, but let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this video and found it important, please make sure to give it a like and share it, and of course if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.